And a special guest today on Absolutely Famous is CEO of the Buller Rugby Union New Zealand, Andrew Duncan. Andrew's the youngest CEO, by the way, too, just 36 years of age, doing a wonderful job over there. Born and bred in Westport. He's played Heartland rep rugby for Buller and cricket. And Andrew, thanks for coming on the show, mate. You're a bit of a bloody legend over there.
I don't know about that, John. Hey, thanks very much for the opportunity to speak to you. You're doing some wonderful things with that Absolutely Famous website, and I'm certainly a keen follower.
You've already achieved some wonderful things in Buller sport, and as the youngest CEO of the Buller Rugby Union, the youngest CEO in New Zealand, tell us about what you've done so far. You've got 4 competition teams, and you're one of the most successful unions in New Zealand at grassroots level.
Yeah, it's I guess firstly the competition that we play in the Bunnings Heartland Championships, one of the great domestic competitions. All 12 teams are amateur rugby unions that compete, and anyone can beat each other on their day. And I think that's the backbone to a great competition. And so yeah, we've had some really good success over the past decade. The last couple of years have been a little more challenging as we look to rebuild our team. We've had a number of guys that have since retired. Some wonderful names of Brownlees, Beveridge, Stevens, Mundy, all guys that have played well over 100 games, have retired over the last few years. So we're in a little bit of a rebuilding phase, John, but yeah, it's a great competition to be a part of.
Yeah, I was lucky enough in the 90s and before Marlborough became Tasman to follow Marlborough around. And the Buller game was always a fantastic one. They had great loose forwards. I remember, I think Glenn Alley and Thomas Stewart were the stars then. And I remember the day Buller lifted the shield off Marlborough at Lansdowne Park, Blenheim. Gee, what a celebration that was.
We actually celebrated, what would that be, 30 years on, 1992, 41-14. We celebrated that last year. We had a bit of a history event. We had the 1972 team that had beat Buller West Coast, had beaten Australia. We had that 92 team, which you talk about, that beat Marlborough at Lansdowne. And of course our 2012 side, which is the team that won the Lahore Cup and the first piece of national silverware that Buller had won. So we celebrated a reunion day last year, and it was really cool to get around together and share those stories. And you say some great loose forwards that play for Buller. And I think probably one thing that epitomises any sort of Buller side is that ability to punch above our weight. And being New Zealand's smallest union, that's something that we have to strive for every year.
Well, you live in, I reckon, one of the most beautiful parts of the world over here on the West Coast. For anyone who hasn't been there, I'd highly recommend it. The hospitality and the scenery second to none. What do you put down the success of the Buller Rugby Union at the moment? I mean, you were voted number 1 in New Zealand on one crucial area of experience. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, that's the voice of the participant survey, and I guess we pay particular attention to this. It's what our players or our parents, how they rate their overall experience of how we're tracking. And so basically that's a survey that goes out to all players in New Zealand that have registered to play, and it gives you some markers about, how you're performing as a rugby union. And so the last couple of years we've ranked number 1 in the overall experience category. And so, yeah, that's really heartening to know that, people that are involved in the game locally are doing a fantastic job, whether that's our club administrators. It starts at our board level from the Buller Rugby Union who set a really cool, clear strategy. And we're really thrilled with how those results have been tracking the last couple of years, and it hasn't always been that way. I think back to 2018 we were actually ranked last. So we've made a big shift over the last few years, and really pleased with how we have been going in the last couple of years for sure.
So it's very much the personal touch, getting in touch with the people and finding out what they want.
Yeah, totally, and that's it. Yeah, bang on, John. I think that's the key, isn't it? That your participants are the ones that are playing the game, and so let's listen to what they want and what they need. And we've modified some game formats to suit their needs, and I think ultimately that's how we get to this result, when the players are actually enjoying their experience.
So how much of an impact is the massive success of the Black Ferns recently winning the World Cup and that brilliant seven side they've got at the moment. How much influence has that had on women's participation, and is that a key area you're looking at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely it is. Well, look, I think that sort of just captivated the nation, didn't it? That the World Cup success last year, and as you say, the Blackfern Sevens have been successful over quite a number of years, and yeah, look, that's a real key strategic focus of ours. And in fact, just this week we're employing a female rugby development officer, so that's exciting for us. It's a clear strategy from us to grow the game, but I think maybe over the last couple of years we've seen the rise of the female game, but I think this year it will really take off, and we're looking to support that with an employee dedicated to growing the game, but then I think more crucially trying to retain the girls in the game, because I think there'll be natural interest from them to want to take part in the game. And so how do we create that experience that keeps them in the game for longer, and ultimately for us hopefully create some competitions out of it.
And of course you're lucky enough that probably my famous rugby player at the moment, or my favourite rugby player at the moment, Ruby Tui, comes from Westport, and what a great turnout when she turned up to show off the World Cup medal.
Yeah, the West Coast is down the road, might argue where she comes from, but no, you're right. Look, it's great having
the West Coast region, anyway.
yeah, we'll call it a more broader West Coast region.
Yeah.
You're right. Look, I think, she'll be a lot of people's favourite player at the moment. She's just got that real authentic feel when she interviews. She's obviously a fantastic rugby player as well, and so, gosh, I just remember back to the Christmas parade that was in Greymouth and she attended, and I know that a whole bunch of girls from Westport, went down the road to see her, and look, hopefully in time we can see maybe more of Ruby, or I know that actually Kendra Coxedge has got a position with New Zealand Rugby that oversees that area, and we're going to welcome her to Westport this month as well. So yeah, let's strike while the iron's hot and see where this game goes. But it's certainly an exciting time in the women's rugby space.
Andrew, the New Zealand Rugby Union's deal with the Silver Lake Company from America is a particularly lucrative one. How has that benefited smaller unions, heartland unions like Buller?
Yeah, look, this has been massive, really, to be honest. The 12 heartland unions who we've already alluded to, get that 500,000 cash injection. And for us, we're going to use that on a facilities upgrade. And so, and particularly probably around the fact that as we're talking about the women's game coming online here in Buller, creating facilities that are fit for purpose. And so that's exciting for us over the next couple of years as we look to build some facilities around the region. And yeah, that'll make a huge difference to not only Buller, but a lot of the provincial unions around New Zealand.
Are you confident in the future of heartland rugby? Do you think the New Zealand Rugby Union is paying enough attention to the importance of it? Because I know how important it is.
Yeah, look, I think so. As I said at the top of the interview, this is a wonderful competition, and I know that it's probably envious of even the NPC unions, and they've probably looking at what is their competition, but our one is it's incredibly competitive. It's grassroots rugby, isn't it? And so it's an amateur competition. We get amazing crowds at all of our venues across the competition, and so we need to hang on to that and keep building it, keep growing it, and it's a wonderful competition to be part of.
Well, it's a community event, isn't it? It's like Club Day. The community comes together and celebrates or commiserates whatever the result is, and it's a great way for people to catch up.
Yeah, and that's exactly how we approach it as well. We don't see it as just a rugby game. It's an opportunity for our community to get down to Victoria Square in Westport, and whether you actually like rugby or not, it's a community feel. Rugby in New Zealand it's like a religion, isn't it? People are parochial, they're passionate, and particularly so, I think, in smaller communities. And so, when there's an event on in Westport, we get fantastic support, and we look forward to our 4 home games a year, and we make sure that we advertise it and get the community down there.
So do the Heartland CEOs, do you work together quite a bit? Do you catch up and make sure you're all aiming for the same sort of similar outcome?
Yeah, and I think we're quite aligned John, at the moment, there's say 12 of us, and yeah, I think we realise how lucky we are to have such great competition, and we do. Yeah, we support each other to make sure that our events are, they're looked after. And there's a couple of really exciting things over the last year or so that to our competition. We've got the introduction of Sky covering a game every week in our competition, so every team has the ability to play a live game on Sky TV, and that just helps with the brand and growing the game. And there's a lot of people out there that enjoy real grassroots rugby, and so that's been a real positive thing for our game over the last 12 months.
And financial support from the local business community, is that pretty good? Is that forthcoming for you?
Yeah, it is. We're super lucky, to be really honest, John. And when you're the smallest rugby union in New Zealand, sometimes that's quite challenging to meet or to compete, commercially with the bigger unions in the country. And so I can speak on behalf of our sponsors. Like, gosh, we're so lucky that the support we receive, because it is quite a costly exercise to travel the country. When you're isolated like you are in Bulla, then you don't have really your near neighbours to go and do a day trip. It's normally a 2-night excursion, and costs can build up. But we are very fortunate to have some wonderful sponsors.
And of course, you're the CEO of the Bulla Union. You have a couple of other offsiders working for you as well professionally.
Yeah, we're a small team. We've got a full-time rugby development officer, Tim Manawatu, who's a former professional player. He's another born and bred Bulla lad, and so he's really passionate about the community, does a fantastic job, and really pleased that we're going to be having a new employee to help him out, as I say, starting this week. And a young girl called Stella Richards, who's fresh out of university, and she's ready to go. And obviously the focus on the female game there. And another employee is Sharon Roach in the office. So Sharon's a former deputy mayor. She's just finished that role, but she works part-time in our office to keep us in line.
Fantastic. And at 36, Andrew, you're still playing a bit of rugby?
Well, I have been refereeing over the last few years, although last year I answered a call from the mighty Reefton Rangers, and they were short in Westport one day, so I did put the boots on last year. We'll see what unfolds this year, John.
Good stuff. Best half back in the coast still, probably. Yeah, and of course you've got another massive sporting challenge coming up, which your wife Ainsley kindly got you into. Tell us about that. That's massive.
Yeah, off to London. Gosh, that must be, I think it's less than 3 months away now to run the London Marathon. So, as you know, my wife, John, she's a runner, former triathlete for New Zealand, and she said to me last year, she said, look, if you want to go away on all these away trips to around the country with the Heartland team, then you've got to do something I want to do. And here we go. It was the London Marathon. But no, looking forward to that. She certainly keeps me fit, and that's going to be a great experience.
That'll be a wonderful experience. Look, Andrew, congratulations on all you're achieving over there and the great work you're putting in with Bulla Rugby. We've got another story coming up we're going to do together on in a week or so's time on one of the great cricket results in the history of provincial cricket in New Zealand, but we'll delve into that later. Thanks a lot, mate, and all the best. Go Bulla in the Heartland.
Thanks, John. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you, and keep up the great work. Cheers.
Thanks, Andrew.